Now, if you guys are part of my community of loyal subscribers and fans, you know that I play a multitude of different types of games. And I'm 39 years old, and for 35 of those years, I've been like a hardcore gamer. But for those of you that don't know me, my name's Applersky. Started my channel earlier this year, and if you're not a subscriber, please do so because it only takes a second. And I noticed recently that like 90 something percent of my videos that have been watched are by non-subscribers. So either way, take a look at my channel, my list of games that I put videos out on, and make your decision, please. With that being said, I have some honorable mentions that I wanted to throw out for personal reasons. Just going to name them off real quick. Stellar Blade, Star Wars Outlaws, and Hellblade 2. Different reasons. I know Star Wars Outlaws, didn't get the greatest reception, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and it was like a love letter to Star Wars. So, with that being said, let's get into the first game, which is Silent Hill 2. Its side characters like Angela, Eddie, and most importantly, Maria are a huge part of this narrative. And what I did, and I released a video about this, like, I don't know, a month ago maybe, is what makes this game special and the best way to play it. And if you have not played this, play it and let me know what you think in the comments later. And the best way that I felt to play it, and I'm glad I did it this way, is because the original Silent Hill 2 came out when I was like 16 in 2002. And I did play it. Like, I've played all the Silent Hill games at least once, but, it's been gone for so long. I didn't remember Silent Hill 2. I remember like locations, iconic things like Pyramid Head, James's green jacket, and the monster design, and all of that. But most people, even including myself, when a game gets announced to be remade, to build the hype, to go back and play the original to see how it's going to stack up. But with this one, knowing not remembering it, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna go because that might ruin the experience for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm glad that I did it that way because I respected it more. And not to say that I went back and played Silent Hill 2, like the original, after I finished this, and I own it like physically unopened and everything, but I have it on PC too. And not to take anything away from it, that was a fantastic game, as a game of the generation, like, because it does survival horror differently. I would actually go as far as to say, like, this isn't even survival horror. It's just like a horror action game, because you don't have like limited resources to like keep it, like, you know what I mean? You have like pretty big inventory, things of that nature. But it is within that. People consider it a survival horror, and it's very unique. The story is told in a way that is very, very unique. So if you haven't played it, check that one out. Moving on to number 4 is Astrobot, and I'm not put automatically throwing this out there because it won Game of the Year, or I'm like a console warrior or whatever. If any game that I'm interested in, whatever platform it comes out on, I play. I own all the platforms, so I'm not limited to something I don't have. And this is here in this spot simply because it's a fantastic game from top to bottom. Super polished. Very, very fun mechanics. The game's constantly throwing different situations at you, different looking levels, and it's very accessible to children, but at the same time, like my 5-year-old daughter beat this, but at the same time, like the main missions and story are like very forgiving and easy, but still fun to 39-year-old, right? Like I had a blast playing this game from the love letter stuff of PlayStation to like just the core mechanics and gameplay of the levels, like super super fun. Now, I probably haven't played a platformer close to as good or better than this since Mario Odyssey. And then of course the one that came packed in with the PS5, the Astrobot one, which is very much similar gameplay here, but this is like a full on experience as to where that was like more of a tech demo. But I have not seen any developer utilize the strengths of like the specific console like controller better than Team Asobi. Like, and even without that, it would still be a fantastic game. But they really put that haptic feedback and stuff to use, moving the controller around, tilting it from side to side for certain things, blowing on it, like, and all of it is done in a non gimmick way. Like it's very very good, well implemented. But what really struck me as kind of a surprise is I was thinking like, and I put out a video about this too a while back or a little while back, that it if you want to platinum this game, like you got to be like the older generation of gamers because there's these levels, and the previous level you just saw was one of them where there's secret levels that you find, and they're based on the PlayStation icon. So you get like 4 missions for each PlayStation face button, and this is the final challenge. And I'm not lying when I say this, that it literally probably took me over 200 tries, and all I needed was this beating this level to get the platinum, and I rage quit on it. Like it took me like 3 days to get through, but I had to like stop, reset myself, try it again, and it probably doesn't look that. If you haven't played it, it probably doesn't look that intimidating. But I'm telling you, it's fast paced. You can't stay in one place for too long because the caveat of these missions is that there's no checkpoints. So if you make a wrong mistake, a wrong jump, if you get hit by something, you kind of have to choreograph your own way of playing it. Like you seen there that I just completely bypassed those electric enemies instead of dealing with them because it's just frustrating. And the floor, it feels like every platform you're on like is just crumbling, so you only have so much time, to get past it. And it was very very challenging, and I appreciate that because they knew that players in their 20s and 30s were going to be playing this because of it's overall history stuff with PlayStation, and it's just a solid game follow up to oh man, why can't I think of that? Then the pack-in that came with the PS5, which is very similar to this. I can't think of its name. Astro's Playroom. So anyway, I finally get through the level, and I'm so happy. And find out that it's the Master Onion from Parappa the Rapper is great. So moving right along to my number 3 game of the year, is Banishers: Ghost of New Eden, which is made by Don't Nod Studios and is within the same universe as Vampire. If you played that, I think it came out in like 2016. And it's sad. First of all, before I get into what makes the game so special, it's sad because this game underperforms sales wise, and I just don't know the future of Don't Nod. If Bloom and Rage doesn't do well, I think, somebody might buy them and just change their formula. I don't know, but Vampire and these being connected, leaves so much potential on the table, and it's really sad. But anyway, speaking of sad, this game is very, very emotionally charged. Without spoiling it, because this isn't going to be a spoiler because it's in all the trailers. Early on in the game, so you play as Red and Antea, and they're married, but they're also partners. They go around to different places and they banish ghosts for money. And very early on, Antea is killed by this crazy like spirit, and like it's kind of like they were set up. They had to like rush in unprepared. They didn't do a lot of research on the ghost, and like they felt like they were set up by the townsfolk. And so you go on this mission with Antea's ghost basically haunting Red because she doesn't want to let him go, and they find out that there's a way to bring her back to life, but that comes at a heavy, heavy cost. Basically, you have to like banish everyone like that you come into contact with, and the more you do, the better chance you have of getting that mission of resurrecting her, or getting that ending, I should say. But it's hard because these characters are not just minor characters. Like every one of them that you do a side case for, they're prevalent throughout the whole game, and making that moral compass decision of like, oh man, I actually like this character. Yeah, they did some kind of like shitty stuff, but is it worth, like, because you can like blame humans and it basically like kills them, like like it's the same thing as like banishing a ghost, really, like, you know what I'm saying? So um it is a tough choice unless you don't have a soul. But also you kind of have to do, if you're a platinum like hunter like me, you kind of have to play the game like 3 times to like get all the like different endings, so you get to see the outcome from both ways. If you banish someone, it'll have repercussions, right, on how people view you, or like some of the shop owners, like you can't buy from them anymore, or the relatives hate you, maybe. It's just so many different things and scenarios. The combat, I think is really good, and the like skill tree is really unique. Like Antea and Red both have their own, but you can't unlock all of the abilities at once. You have to like kind of choose between two different ones. But the cool thing is that if you don't like the one you chose, you can go back and switch it to another one at any time. You just can't have everything like equipped at once. And a lot of people compare the combat, and they're not wrong, but I slightly disagree. Um, a lot of people that love the game will say like that the combat is the weakest part of the game, which I'll agree, but I'll disagree too. Like I like it a lot. It has some of the best boss fights I've experienced in a long time, and one specific one being in the mining caves, and I won't spoil it because it's absolutely incredible. So if you haven't tried this one, Don't Nod could use your help, and it's probably cheap now, so go ahead and pick it up. Now on to my number 2 choice, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Pardon me, have a little cold. I should have mentioned that earlier, but I'm trying to power through it. But anyway, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, but like I didn't just put it on this list because it's Indiana Jones. I put it on the list because it's a great video game from top to bottom. You could be like me, a 30-year lover of Indiana Jones, or somewhere in the late teens, early 20s, that maybe you never even seen. an Indiana Jones movie, or if you have, you just doesn't really, you don't have to be the biggest of fan to enjoy this game. Like I literally think anybody could enjoy this game because it's just a very well done game. I was a little like not skeptical. It was just when they announced this game years ago, and having Machine Heads or Machine Games be the developer, it kind of struck me as an odd choice. Only because like I felt like Arcane, this is kind of like their bread and butter style of a game, like a immersive sim. Um, but they decided to make one of the worst games of all time, and Redfall, and we've seen what damage that did to them. So it was probably better for Machine Games to do it. That they're a studio that's like known for the Wolfenstein reboots, and those are fantastic. Some of the best first-person shooters in the last decade, or however long ago that first one came out. But they're very fast-paced, action-heavy, and somewhat silly at times in a good way with the storytelling. Um, but I have to say that they nailed it. They really nailed this, and this isn't their comfort zone. Like a lot of the time, you have like outfits that you can like disguises in these different locations to, like help you like because you need to get like into these areas to like investigate more about the Great Circle, and sometimes if you could, I don't know if I could say that you can't, no, you can't completely stealth through the whole, there's like some forced combat moments, but you can approach like most of the game however you want. You can be completely stealthy, uh, or what I like to say classic Indiana Jones, which is like improvising, right? So that's how I played it, like how indie actually is, like just complete improvisation in those situations. But technically, it's great. Beautiful graphics, wonderful controls, and it really really makes you feel like Indiana Jones. I've played all those old games, and I generally like most of them, but this is just something that's extremely. Yeah, I know I said earlier that I wasn't like skeptical about the game, but the game actually surpassed my expectations, which were pretty high. Uh, I feel like it was when it was marketed, it was kind of marketed weird. Like they were almost afraid to show like takedowns on these enemies or like shooting the gun in general. Like every clip I would see, it would be like him pointing the gun, and you hear the gun, but it would cut to black, like as if they were scared of like how the gunplay worked, which they shouldn't have been because it's Machine Games, and the gunplay here is awesome. Like it's very sparingly used. Well, for me it was because I just didn't want to go in guns blazing all the time. It almost feels like a reward when you're kind of like forced to pull your revolver or pick up a weapon that somebody's already shooting at you or something, which is it's rare. Those moments are rare where you're like forced to use your gun, but that's why I say it feels like a reward because the gun is weighty, punchy. Every gun sounds accurate and feels great to use. Um, but there, if I had to choose where I would put this in like Indiana Jones like stories, I put it in third place, behind. Well, my favorite is Last Crusade, second being Raiders, and now this is third, surpassing Temple of Doom. I don't really. It's not that I don't like Temple of Doom. I just felt like it was, of the three originals, it was the least impactful to me. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. Like even the show that nobody seems to remember, the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, like that was fantastic, and I put it above that too. And I gotta say, Troy Baker and the whole cast was just so good. Looks so good. Great game. But the one game that surpassed Indiana Jones is Batman Arkham Shadow. And for more than one reason. But the main reason I would say is because it's in VR. I don't like. I fully like believe that if this game wasn't in VR, it still would have been a great game. In fact, it probably would have had more, like, that if it had the classic Arkham style, you probably would have visited more locations. Even if it had the same storyline, which is really really good. Um, but this being in VR is what sets it over the top of indie. Simply because, and I didn't notice this right away. It took me like a few sessions of playing the game. Um, it really actually makes you feel like Batman and Bruce Wayne, like being in that headspace. And there's a lot of emotions that go on throughout this game, and I noticed it after I was playing kind of like an early section, um, where Batman, he like kind of loses it in a way, and he just starts beating the shit out of every enemy he comes across. And they're not even putting up a fight, like they're like backing down, and you're just beating the shit out of these guys. And it legitimately gave me that feeling of angriness. Like I was angry in that moment playing that section, and you could probably say like, "Oh, well, that's not good." Like, well, no, because it completely went away as soon as I turned the game off. And it's not like I carried on and was mad after I played through that, But in the moment of playing it, I was sweating bullets. Um, and not only is this a great video game and my choice for game of the year, it's a great experience, like in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you love Batman even just as slightly as much as I do, I mean, he's my favorite character of all time, not just superhero. Um, and you, for whatever reason, what sucks is it's not accessible to everyone, right? It's got a hefty price tag. If you just want to play this game, it's going to set you back $300. But if you have the means to do it, I would definitely say to if you have the funds and the means to do it, definitely pick this up. I'm not trying to tell you how to spend your money, but it's definitely worth it. I'm not upset that I spent $300 for this one game because it is that impactful, and it keeps you on your toes. It has the staples of all Arkham games. That is crazy how well they're implemented into the game, being in VR, but it really adds to that feeling of being Batman and having his emotions, while you're playing it. Um, and tax season coming up, so if you're waiting for that, I mean, this is a must play, must play. Um, Also, like Roger Craig Smith is fantastic, and I mean the whole cast is really. You got Troy Baker as Harvey. Um, I mean, I don't know the names of some of the other people, but they all do a wonderful job. Um, and we finally get to see Ratcatcher, which I thought was really cool. Um, Now, without spoiling anything, he's not the Rat King, but he's involved with it. The kind of like the creation behind the Rat King. Um, but it is a mystery. I will say, like, I had my thoughts on who the Rat King might turn out to be, but I was actually wrong. It threw me for a loop, and I hope if and when you guys get a chance to play this, um, it surprises you like just like it did me. Now, technically, performance wise, I heard, I'm glad I waited. I waited like over a month until they finally said, nope, this is not coming to any other VR headset. It's going to stay on Nexus, which is really a shame. Maybe in a year or so they'll change their mind. But it's such a good game, oozing with secrets, puzzles, collectibles. The phone thing's really cool. Um, Using the grapple just feels great. Throwing just the gadgets. It feels so cool to use them in a VR style. Um, and I love VR, but I don't play. Like, you have to be kind of in the right mindset to play VR because it is like mentally exhausting. So I played this in about 3 to 4 hour like segments. It took me about 3 days to get through the whole game, but um, yeah, even the headset actually, I'm not like disappointed with it at all. I'm actually like kind of blown away what they were able to do with the headset. It's got some cool features. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Batman Arkham Shadow. My game of the year. And hopefully they make another one. You know what I'm saying? Uh, that isn't exclusive. But until then, we'll just have to wait. But yeah, those are my picks for game of the year. My 5 game of the year in order. So if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you're not new, leave me some comments. I love feedback. Thanks for watching.